Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new day, a new workshop. My name is Joshua, and this is Rooftop. In today's workshop, we're going to be doing another acrylic painting. Now, I've done quite a lot of acrylic paintings, and we've done different levels of difficulties. We had a circular canvas painting where we went a little bit more in depth when it comes to color mixing and how to use colors and different techniques of painting on canvas. Now, in today's workshop, we're going to be doing a simple floral painting. Now, why did I make it simple? Or why did I choose a simple one? It's because as we go ahead with these workshops, the knowledge that we get through this, we need to see how we can apply it to not just difficult or complex paintings, but to a simple one as well. Because sometimes, even in a simple ones, you can add a few, complex techniques into it. So, this workshop will be more of a brush over with how we can do these techniques. So, let's get started. Okay, so I have my paper here. I'm using a relatively thick paper. Now, before we start drawing, we can choose the frame that we like, or we can decide how high we want each part to be. Now, I'll mark this area as a top. This will be around here, not too low also. We'll draw the rectangle first. So I'll keep about this much gap from the top and this much from the side. Now it can be very rough, it doesn't have to be a very precise measurement. And then now when I draw the line, I'm not using a scale, we can let it be a little wobbly. We don't want it to be precise. Now over here, when I'm drawing down, what I can do is I can keep my pinky finger against the book, put my pencil there, and then in one smooth motion, bring it down like that. We will have a relatively straight line, because what we're doing is we are using our finger as a support, and then we bring the line down. Okay, now I can turn the paper this side as well. Let's make this straight. Right about there. And here as well. One smooth motion. It's okay if it goes a bit, inside or outside. We want this to be a very free painting. We do not want any restrictions as such. Now for this painting, I will be using a Prussian blue color, cadmium yellow, and titanium white along with some red. Now we will mostly be using blue and red. Our yellow is going to be to a minimum. Now we can start the drawing by drawing the big flower on the top left. So I'll make a very rough circle here. Now we want it to come out of the frame. We want it to look, more three-dimensional, like there is something happening. Once I draw the circle, I will mark a spot where I want the petal to end at. And from here I can just draw it outwards. Same thing with this area here. Now if you want, you can draw a flower of your own as well. This one right there. Now I will draw this one first and then this one, because if you look at the reference, this petal is behind the bottom petal. The left one is behind the bottom one. So I will draw the bottom petal first, and then I can connect this petal down here. Same thing with this side. I'll draw this part. Now I can just very roughly mark where I want it to come to. This will come like that, say about here. That should be good enough. I hope the drawing is visible to you all. Then we can bring this petal down here as well. Same thing with this. I'll just mark where I want the tip of the petal to be, and then I can add this over here. Same thing on this side as well. Now we'll make sure we don't leave a gap over here, because there's another petal overlapping it. Even though it is, we won't leave that gap here. Then I can draw the stem. And remember to use very long lines. We do not want to draw it like that. It's okay if you make a mistake, but we'll try making it a habit where we use long lines in this way. On this side also, we can give it a slight bend. Or we can let it vary in sizes. And then we can add this petal here. It can come to say this area right here. Lift this petal up. Now remember, for example, I'll just use this tissue here. Now a petal is not, straight like this pencil. It will have some sort of bent to it, like that. So when there is weight, it will have like a natural bend. So you can see it curve this side. From here it comes out, and then it bends to the back side. Now, the more you learn about art, or the more you learn about drawing and painting, objects or flowers or any sort of subject that you like, you start to realize how much science is there behind it. Now, what do I mean by science? Now, say if I want to draw a portrait, if I want to draw, say, the face correctly, what I will need to do is I will need to know the shape of the skull, the placement of everything, the size, how the cheeks fold. And if I want to draw these petals, for example, I need to understand that there is some weight being applied here. So due to that, the petal will bend and fold. And over here, since it's at the back, we won't be able to see much. That is called foreshortening. So, for example, now if you look at this pencil here, you can see the entire pencil correctly, right? But now as I start tilting the pencil, you can see the pencil get shorter and shorter and shorter until it's just a dot. So this concept where as an object tilts, we start to see it smaller, or a part of it starts getting hidden behind, that is known as foreshortening. And leave that there. And this one can come down here, and I'll bend this stem. Now it's okay if it even becomes a thin line, because when we paint it, all of this drawing is going to be hidden. Now before I start with the other stem, what I can do is I can just very roughly place the petals. Now I'm not trying to draw an accurate drawing. I'm just drawing shapes of the petals that are there. This. Now this is another technique of drawing, where once we start drawing, we don't try to get the final image immediately. What we will do is we'll just start placing the similar shapes that we see. Now if you look at this flower over here, it's not a final drawing as compared to this. Now if you look at this I darkened it, I drew the shape as well. I have different variations of, strokes. But over here it's very light, it's very quick, it's very spontaneous. So this over here is a sketch. So what I'm doing right now is I'm creating a sketch. Okay, this part is the stem. I will lift it up. I will draw the shape of this part which holds the bud. Over here I will very roughly draw the petal down. Here will be the middle part. And the petal on the right is say about this big and this shape. This petal starts from the middle of the right petal. It's a bit blocky at the top, or a little flat, and then it comes down. This one also comes towards the edge of this border, comes close to the border, sticks out, and we have this last petal which comes out like that. Now we can finish off with this final one. Now you can either start from the center of the flower, or you can start from the petals. Now since I want to be sure where the center of the flower is, what I can do is I can start by just placing the outer parts of the petal. Maybe like that. Bring the stem very roughly, draw the shape. Okay, this one is a relatively big petal, so I can take this out. And then draw this petal here. So if you see, now this part was a final drawing, but here we have 3 different sketches of the flower. Now what I can do is I can start darkening this. Darkening in the sense that if I want to make any changes, I can do so. And this petal here also is very wavy, so there are no straight lines in this. Same thing down here. And remember, when you draw, to hold the pencil from the middle or further back. We don't want to hold it right here. And so I'll hold it from here and I will draw. What this will do is it will give me a larger area to move my hand. Now if you see, if I just open my hand this way, it comes from this tip to this tip. But now when I hold it much closer, it comes from here to this flower. So you see the difference? So what I'll do is, as I am doing this, I'll start extending the pencil so you can see how far it goes. So the further back I hold, the more of an area my pencil can travel. So when you're doing very tiny details like this, then you can hold it a little closer, not at the very tip, but maybe around here. But when you work on like larger areas, like these two flowers here, I will hold it from the middle and then start drawing it like that. With this petal as well, it comes a bit from the inside, sticks out, and then goes in ahead. Same thing with this area here. This part bounces out in a way. This one goes inwards, comes back out, and creates a very bumpy outline. Now, even for this one, if you look at this, I've made it very pointy. But now I can make some changes to it. Bring this up. Give it a little softness. And if I want to give it a little softness, I can give it very wavy or curvy lines. Same thing here as well. This you can leave it very roughly. We don't need to focus on it too much. Okay, we have one last bud over here. Okay, that should be good enough. Now we can start the painting. I have my palette. I will take, now I have quite a large area to cover, so I'll take a bit of blue. I'm using Prussian blue, but you can use ultramarine as well. and I will take, say, about an equal amount of white. Now what I'm doing here is I am testing and seeing whether this much color ratio is enough. So I have a little bit of water also kept in my brush. I think this color should be good enough. It might be a little bit lighter, but this will do the job. Okay, now I can take this and start painting the area. You can take this and spread it. You can take a bit of water, I think. It's too little water. Now for the outline, I'll keep it a bit wavy. I do not want to keep it, very straight. Like that. Now I can do it for this area as well. Take some more paint. Now, does anyone know what an additive color is and a subtractive color is? Has anyone heard about such a thing? Whoever knows the answer, let me know in the comments. And those who don't, you can still let me know in the comments. But if you have no idea, you can try giving it a shot. What do you think it could be? Once you start giving answers, I can drop hints and then I can tell you the right answer. So does anyone know? Are any guesses? We can rotate. Our paper as well. and give it a nice clean outline. But I can curve it as well. There. And it'll start getting a very matte and a very flat color. Now for these thin places, I can just use the corner of the flat brush. So whenever you try to paint large areas, I would recommend using a flat brush. And when you paint, like smaller areas, then you can use a round brush. A round brush would be like those thin brushes, like this. This is a round brush and this is a flat brush. And then you get even another type of brush where the bristles are, you could say, like a bit like that, spread out. And that's called a fan brush. If you have any questions regarding this workshop, or maybe some personal questions that you have, of when you paint and maybe something is confusing you or you're not sure what to do, you can ask me in the comments and I can help you out. Whether it be this painting or a landscape painting or a portrait, whichever it may be. Here what I can do is I can just push it slightly and then pull it back to get that clean outline. Okay, we're almost done with the background. Add a little bit of water. I'll do the edges first. Same thing on this side. Okay. Do we need blue anywhere else? No, I think that should be fine. Oh, okay, we have this area in the middle. This area as well. I'll clean my brush. Okay. Now I can take my red color paint. So if you look at the petals, let's see, should I go for red first or for the pink first or for the green? Okay, the green seems to be, if you look at this bud over here, we can see that the green has been painted over the bud, meaning we can do the petals first and then go for the stem. So for that, what I'll do is I will take my white here. Now can someone tell me how to get pink color? Okay. Now in this white, I have already a little paint, on the top here. So I'll just take a tiny bit of red. Since red is a very strong color, I'll take this red and I will mix it in this white. Take a bit of water, push it in. So I'll keep removing the paint from my brush like this. Then I will mix it back in. That seems good. Yeah, and now we can start painting the petals. Now remember, the petals have a much darker outline to them. So we can leave a little space for the darker outlines. Again, make sure it is mixed properly. If you go over the drawing also, it is fine. Bring this away. The bottom one is entirely dark, so I will leave that as it is. Then I can go for this petal. Add a bit of water to it. Then now it will spread much easily. So you go from the outside and then come inwards. I seem to have left a spot of blue there. What I can do is I can take my brush again. Remove a bit of the water. Take this blue. Okay. Now we can come to this pink again and continue filling up the petals. Fill this part up. And go, can go a bit more. Can cover a bit of this area. And come all the way down. We can slightly go over these lines. You can fill in the gap a bit so that when we do paint the other colors, there is no gap left in between, or there are no white spots in that sense. And one last flower at the top. And what I can do right now is I can take a bit more red and mix it into this pink we already had. Now this will be to add a little more depth to it. Here we can add a bit of pink to show a bit of the three-dimensionality. On this side as well. a little bit to the edge. Okay, now the same white, I can just, the same pink that I have, I'll take a little bit and put it this side. Maybe a tiny bit more. Now I'll take a lot more red, since I want this to be darker. I'll mix this up. So now you can see it start getting a little bit more vibrant and darker at the same time. This should be a good color. Let's see. Yeah. Add a bit of water to this. Just a tiny bit, not too much. This side as well. Now we can start seeing it take shape. So if I want thinner lines, let's see, I'm using thick lines here, and as I want thinner lines, I will use less pressure, like that. Same thing here as well. Bring this outwards. Okay. This side is there also. If you feel that your paint is becoming a bit transparent, you can repaint that area again. This side also. Now for this you can use a flat round brush also, but I like using a flat brush as much as I can, so I will be using this flat brush itself. I'll keep my brush entirely vertical. Bring this part down. Same thing over here. I will make it a bit wavy and bring it down like that. Take my paint again, remove the excess paint. I can add a bit of the texture on the inside as well. I can do this area also. Over here we can make it thin with this petal. So I'll start with a bit of pressure and then flatten my brush and bring it down like that. And same for this area as well. Here it's folding, which is why we have a much thicker line. I can start so the thickness and the outline will add more depth to the flowers. We can add some texture over here. Same thing this side. You can make them of different lengths. and try to follow the shape of these lines, the outline that is there. Okay, now I will clean this. I already have some blue ready, so I can take my yellow think about that much, and I can see how much do I need. I'll be painting the green color or the stem. Take this blue and mix it in this yellow. Add a bit of water. And now we can start painting. As you know, there's a little too much paint in my brush, so I'll rotate it as I move, so that whatever extra paint is there, I can easily take it off. Make sure you don't leave any white spots. Not too much also on this side. Then I'll take a bit more paint, remove the extra. And simplify it. Right about there. Okay. Now I will clean this brush. So Raksa, I have a question asking if it would have the same effect using watercolors. Uh, so it won't have this exact effect because acrylic is thick. So you can have a much more flatter, much more matte kind of finish. But when you use watercolor, you can have a lot more transparency, meaning it will be a lot more soft. So if you look at this area inside the flower, let me just switch. Yeah. So if you look at these areas over here, this part, and then this area here, this part here, with watercolors, you can have a much more smoother finish. Because in this, if I bring it closer, and if you see, it's very rough, it's very flat. It doesn't blend in to the background entirely, like this one over here as well. So if you do it with watercolor, you can have a similar effect, but you will need to add a lot more layers to it. As with watercolor, it tends to dry a little darker. So if I take this blue and I paint it with watercolor, by the time it dries out, it will become a little darker. So you have to keep that in mind. But if you're asking if we can do this painting as well, we can do this painting in watercolor also. Now this painting, for this kind of an effect, you would need poster, acrylics or gouache. But with watercolor also you can get a very similar effect. But just remember that it won't be as solid or as flat as you do it with acrylics or gouache. I hope that answered your question. If something is still unclear, you can let me know again. Okay, now I can finish it off. Okay, two things are remaining. The center part of the flower. I don't need much color for that. So I took a little bit of yellow, and then I'll just take a tiny bit of red and I will mix it. So if you want, you can leave it a bit this way as well. So if you see, this side is more yellowish, this side is a little reddish. So what I can do is I can start with one side, and then with the other side I can add a different color. So let me just bring it closer. So if you look at this, I didn't mix the color properly. This top side is a bit red and this bottom side is a bit yellow. So I'll start off with this corner, and very roughly I will put this yellow color here, and then I can flip the brush and add a texture of red, so that we can have two colors in your paintbrush. Same thing here. Okay, I'm glad that answered your question. Can add a bit this side, add a bit here. Now we can top it off with a final black color. What I'll do is I'll take this black and I'll mix it a bit in this green. So I don't want it to be entirely black. I want it to be a little greenish black. And then I can start adding these lines here. This part as well. And this side also. Like that. So they so there you go, that's our final work. Let's take it a bit closer so that you can see it entirely. Okay everyone, I hope you enjoyed this workshop and got to learn a new technique as well, where we can add two different colors on the same brush, and we can flip the brush and we can use each color according to our own wish. So if you'd like to see more of these workshops and you like this workshop, you can subscribe to the Rooftop channel. And if you have any workshops of your own that you would like me to do, or any sort of paintings, you can let us know in the comments and we will come up with such workshops in the future. So thank you so much for joining us for this live session. And today in the evening we have one more workshop coming up at 5:30, and I hope to see you all there. Thank you.